We just heard in our children's moment at the beginning of this service about vines. Living in the climate that we have here in Florida, we often see vines. Lots of vines growing everywhere. Florida has hundreds of different kinds of vines, and many are very flowery and beautiful. But they can also be a problem if they grow out of control and do damage. Then there are the vine-like weeds that grow in the grass in our lawns. Every time I mow the lawn, I end up doing battle with them. Our dogs Lucy and Festus, on the other hand, love the vines that grow in the grass. They love to chew on them. I think the vines are their dental floss. Now, there are three types of vines in general. Clinging vines that attach to surfaces, twining vines that climb upwards on vertical supports, such as lattice or poles, and sprawling vines or shrubs that produce long runners and have no means of attaching themselves to supports. Some vines, such as ivy, will cover buildings and other structures, such as the famous outfield fence at Chicago's Wrigley Field. Some people really like it when that sort of thing happens. The world-famous architect Frank Lloyd Wright once said, "When a physician makes a mistake, the physician's mistake gets buried. When the architect makes a mistake, the architect tells the client to plant lots of vines." The climate of Palestine, as well, is good for vine growing, and the people of Jesus' time knew vines very well. The most valuable of vines were those in vineyards where grapes were grown and wine was produced. It was an important business. Grapes were central to Israel's economy. The vine was also a powerful symbol, both spiritually and politically. At one of the entrances at the temple in Jerusalem, there was a symbol hanging over the entrance made of gold wire and beads, delicately twisted to look like a huge golden grapevine. It is likely that Jesus and his disciples were familiar with this symbol. And they were also familiar with the image of the vine on money, currency, on Israeli coins at the time. The grapevine was symbolic of Israel. Vines require special care in order to grow in a healthy and productive way, of course. They need to be planted in the right way, watered sufficiently, and they require fertilizing and mulching. And they need occasional pruning, cutting them back in order to keep them in control. But you have to prune them carefully, or else you might destroy the flowers or the fruit that grows on the vine. And you only want to prune the branches and the ends of them, not the main stem, not the vine itself. If you prune branches, the main stem or the vine will always produce more branches. But if you cut the main stem, if you cut the vine, you kill off the branches as well. Jesus says in today's passage from John's Gospel, "I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine grower." And he goes on to say, "Abide in me, as I abide in you. Just as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches." In the original Greek language of the New Testament and John's Gospel, that word abide is a Greek verb that is pronounced as meno. Meno, spelled in English M-E-N-O. So Greek meno, and our translation into English, abide. But besides to abide, meno has a number of definitions, including to remain, to sojourn, to wait, to continue to be present, to endure, and to live. Meno means more than just to be. It involves being someplace or with someone over time with an inherent commitment, sticking with it, hanging in there, being persistent, faithfully remaining, perhaps in spite of difficulties, challenges, and disappointments. Yesterday, our vestry, our board of directors of the parish of St. Thomas, our vestry, we went on a retreat. We spent the day at a conference room over at Grand Haven discussing ourselves and how we work together. We were led by two facilitators, Rick and Carol, who were very skilled and helped us to look within at our struggles and challenges and helped us to affirm our successes and our positives. I wish you could have seen us. We got lost on the way. In Grand Haven, of all places. We did. There I was driving the church van with vestry members in it. We formed a caravan with other vestry members following the van. And I didn't know where I was going. Neither did those who were following me. Neither did those who were giving me directions. We even had a map. And we still got lost on the streets of Grand Haven. We looked like a sprawling, out-of-control vine growing quickly toward nowhere. I have to say it wasn't our proudest moment. But eventually, we did find our way. I do say that I'm very proud of our vestry. I'm grateful for the people on it. So many of us have had our difficulties in our work together over time, but many of us have stuck with it and stuck together. And it is starting to pay off. At the retreat, it felt like we are becoming closer and more mutually supportive than we have ever been. We still have work to do. But we are beginning to know what it means to be part of a vine, to be branches of the larger vine that is Christ. The past several years of changes and some disagreements have not been easy for St. Thomas's vestry. It has not been an easy time for us as a parish either. It can be difficult to know how best to grow the vine, how best to cultivate it, how best to prune it. But God does not call us to do easy things. We don't grow and become better people, better followers of Christ by doing easy things. We grow and become better followers of Christ by abiding in Christ together, come what may. When we remain in Christ's love together, we give God the opportunity to recognize our need for Christ and our need to be Christ to one another. It has to do with unity, not uniformity in our thoughts, but unity in our hearts, unity in our commitment to one another, and unity in our calling to be branches of the vine that is Christ. How would you describe your connection with Christ? Do you have one? Is your connection such that you can see yourself as a branch that is part of His vine? If so, are you an abiding branch, hanging faithfully to the source of life itself? Jesus is constantly inviting us to be branches of His vine. When He does this, He doesn't guarantee that it will be without its challenges and difficulties.